So it's a pleasure to have you with us today, and the first of 2 days. And this is our panel. We're going to start with the executive viewpoint, perspectives on excellence, and then have large panels on knowledge management and uptime reliability and maximizing production. Now, of course, with very high oil prices, it's very clear why maximizing production is important, and this has been a big focus within our company for the last 2 years, and Gord Clarke will show you some of the new tools that we've developed for that.
Okay, field operations has traditionally been considered one of the least interesting parts of the business. Everybody wanted to be an F&D, find and drill and develop and rush and let's blow and go, let's have some fun. Who wants to work in that sleepy old part of the business over there? Yeah, that's no fun. Let's get on with something else. So this has been neglected in most organizations, and I've seen that not only in my years with Imperial Oil, and prior to that with Home Oil and Celanese before that, but also with my last 15 years of consulting with all of you. The people just don't find this part too interesting. However, really today what many operators are finding is that you've already got a wonderful spot that's there, and we just have to deliver on yesterday's promises. The best place to find oil is right where it's already at. And let's make that piece of equipment that we have in our organization get tuned up so that we get that. And that's been very hard for many people to come to grips with. And I'll show you some of the reasons as we go along. Now, we can maximize our profitability when we spend only the right amount of money on the equipment that's there and doing the right job and maximizing our production through fewer breakdowns and incidents. And most of our problems come from incidents, one form or another. And any way we can come to finding ways to reduce those incidents is very, very positive. So let's look at the typical life cycle of a system. We start off with a development phase, and everybody in this phase really wants to rush and let's get the development built and let's bring it up to maximum potential, and then we'll run at this plateau phase. Pretty interesting. Then we come to a mature phase when all of a sudden our production starts to decline. And the issue is, how do we manage that decline? Because most of us were trained in that first part. And the managers that are successful in training are often not successful in operations in that declining phase where we have to start counting our pennies. And we really have to focus on improving our operations. So if we can improve our operations and we can drive our costs down, we can continue to operate that asset for a longer period of time. And that's really the prize. The prize is you get more money when you're there, but over the life cycle, you're going to get more value out of that asset that you put in place. So that's what we've been focusing on. And I think today the industry is slowly coming to this realization that operations excellence is a place where we all have to be. Okay, so how have we defined operations excellence? Well, it's a difficult job to measure and see how well people are doing. So we start off with looking and saying, well, it's something simple, and it's much like the models that we saw from the other organizations today. What are your sales over what is it you're capable of producing? Now, the bottom line part here is the hard part to measure, and we'll show you how we're planning to do that. So we've tried to go ahead and use standard reliability measures, things like you're all very familiar with, counting the number of incidents, how long did those incidents take, what is the mean time between incidents, how long did it take you to recover from those incidents, how much production did you lose, and whether the events were planned or unplanned. So pretty typical reliability type measures. Let's look at a daily production curve for typical sort of, and this is an actual example from our last offshore oil study. And you'll see that we have fluctuating production up and down. And this actually doesn't look too bad for the most part. You'll see there are some small incidents. Then there's a big, large incident that comes in, and then finally there's a major incident where they're out of production for a period of time. And you know that I can't tell looking at that incident in October whether that was a planned event or an unplanned event. I'm guessing it's a unplanned event because if you look just before that, you'll see a period of unstable operations. But in working with our clients, we would be able to determine that particular case. So let's look at our methodology and some of our assumptions. The way we're approaching it is we view that the best days that you have define your current production capability. And we look at it over a one-year period to see how things are going. If there are some changes, then we make some compensation for those changes. Like if you had new wells, new facilities, new compressors, we can take a look at that. If there's planned shutdowns or planned downtime, we can also take that into account. Although we tend to want to look at it too, because if we can minimize the time that we're down, we can minimize the lost production that occurs at that time. So if we can reduce the number of low production days, that's going to wind up increasing what our average production is. And overall, in a whole period of time, you'll wind up with more total production per year. This is not space age, guys. This is very fundamental, very basic. So what we're trying to do is look at ways to reduce our total operating costs through reduced repairs and maintenance, reduced overtime, reduced head office costs and G&A. All of these things come down as you reduce the number of incidents. We're using statistical methods just to establish the curves and to try and identify it, and creating a database of performance so that we can identify the best practices.
A thought provoker about what some of the value we get from benchmarking and data, and what kind of data is in the Ziff database. And there's an issue. One of the things we look at is the cost of operating. One of the costs is fuel gas, okay? So from the deep water Gulf of Mexico, there's trends that indicate an increasing consumption of fuel gas. One, at a time of very high gas prices. Two, as an increasing percent of total cost, okay? And an increasing percent of unit production. And actually you see in a couple of the graphs that actually at a time when actually deep water is more deep water assets, they're more typically oil, and as the GORs are going down, so we're actually producing less gas of the new assets that are coming on. And so it's just a thought provoker. People might be thinking about what kind of programs I need to put in place, everything from the initial design on through the way I operate my facility to reduce fuel gas use.